Right, so as the last 24 hours have seen the mainstream news cycle screaming about Russian brutality in Ukraine, an airstrike on Palm Sunday as this was, and with politicians leaping to condemn this brutal assault for the heinous crime it of course absolutely is, there's been conspicuous silence about another attack on Palm Sunday. And for all of those faux Christians out there clutching their rosaries and crucifixes over Russia, ignoring what Israel did, or perhaps in fairness you didn't hear about it, underreported as it was, can't be allowed to stand. You see, Israel bombed a hospital. Hardly for the first time. They've destroyed 36 of them. All of them Hamas bases, though, you understand. Just like every building and home and school and funny-looking rock is a Hamas base, and where emergency services, volunteers and medics have strived to get damaged medical facilities back online, Israel simply come back and go, whoops, Hamas have rebuilt that hospital again, and attack it all the more. Well, so it goes with this hospital concerned in Gaza City, the last still functioning there as it happens, and actually the first hospital Israel hit after October 7th, showing they can be brought back online. But this hospital stood out for another reason, because it was the Al-Ahli Baptist Hospital that Israel struck, a Christian hospital hit on Palm Sunday. So for all of those calling out Russia, but not Israel, deliberately, you're a bloody hypocrite. And it wasn't even the only Christian assault by Israel on Palm Sunday either at that. Right, so on Palm Sunday, two devastating strikes occurred, one in Ukraine, another in Gaza. But you'll have probably only heard about one of them, because how fast does the media move to condemn Russian atrocity? Really bloody fast, doesn't it? The first of these strikes was a Russian missile attack on the city of Sumy during religious celebrations, and has, of course, and rightly so, been widely condemned by Western leaders and media. The second, an Israeli airstrike on Gaza's last functioning hospital, the Al-Ahli Baptist Hospital, was met with near total silence, though. While Russia's aggression in Ukraine rightly draws global fury, Israel's systematic destruction of Gaza, including the bombing of a Christian hospital on a Christian holy day, has been downplayed or ignored. Selective outrage once more exposing the disturbing bias in Western narratives, where some victims are deemed worthy of attention, those in Ukraine, while others are erased, the people of Gaza, who Israel are hell-bent on erasing. We'll start with Russia here, though. Russian forces launched a missile attack on Sumy in Ukraine, killing civilians gathered for religious services on Palm Sunday. Russia's war in Ukraine has been marked by indiscriminate violence, and this strike fits a pattern of targeting civilian infrastructure. Such actions are clear war crimes, and the international response is justified in calling them just that. However, the moral outrage loses credibility when similar, or worse atrocities by allied nations, not at all like Russia therefore, go ignored. On the same day, Israel bombed Gaza City's last functioning hospital, the Al-Ahli Baptist Hospital, a Christian institution on a day sacred to Christians. Unlike the Sumy strike, this attack received minimal Western coverage. So what happened here then, Damo? Well, I shall tell you. For one, the hospital was given just 5 minutes to evacuate, which is ridiculous. It is an unfair and impossible demand for a facility filled with wounded patients, including children and the elderly, and the casualty rate was egregious as a result. Again, it is Israel, no longer bothering to hide the fact, who are targeting medical infrastructure. Where once they denied ever doing such things, they now do it all of the time. Therefore, this was not an isolated incident, not a mistake that Israel will investigate for itself and then exonerate itself over, as we've seen them do before, because Israel has systematically destroyed Gaza's healthcare system, bombing over 30 hospitals since October 7th. And this time, we have to add a bit more to the story, because where so many Christians around the world, alleged Christians anyway, claim to support Israel, especially in evangelical circles in the US, for example, this strike coming on Palm Sunday came at the same time that Israel denied permits for thousands of Palestinian Christians to enter Jerusalem for Palm Sunday services. An excerpt from the Cradle detailing this, saying, Father Ibrahim Thaltus, vicar of the Custody of the Holy Land, stated that just 6,000 permits were granted to West Bank Christians out of a total Christian population of approximately 50,000 to attend services at the Church of the Holy Sepulchre in occupied Jerusalem's Old City. He noted this was the second consecutive year that celebrations were limited due to ongoing conflict, and emphasized the Church's continued prayers for peace and justice. Palm Sunday, which commemorates Jesus Christ's entrance into Jerusalem 1 week before his crucifixion, was observed by both Eastern and Western Christian communities with prayers and limited processions on the same day this year. Liturgies were led by Patriarch Theophilus III of the Greek Orthodox Church, Cardinal Pier Battista Pizzaballa of the Latin Patriarchate, and other religious leaders. In response to the restrictions, Hamas issued a statement condemning Israel's oppression of Palestinian Christians, saying they are part of the fascist and racist occupation policies targeting our Palestinian people in all its components. These criminal, failed attempts aim to isolate Palestinians from their land and holy sites and to Judaicize them. Yeah, we now live in a world where Hamas are more pro-Christian than Israel is, it seems, but you won't be reading that one in the papers. The Western media's silence on this Israeli attack is unforgivable hypocrisy. While Russian strikes are framed as barbaric, and they are, Israeli strikes, even on a Christian hospital on a Christian holy day, are either excused or buried. Alternatively, Ukrainian lives are simply worth more than Palestinian ones to our media, or even more bluntly, let's put it, as white people getting killed matters more than brown people getting killed, because that is functionally where we are, isn't it? As another example of this blatant bias, enter Keir Starmer. Within hours of the Sumy attack, he denounced Russia, a tweet screaming out saying, "I'm appalled at Russia's horrific attacks on civilians in Sumy, and my thoughts are with the victims and their loved ones at this tragic time. President Zelensky has shown his commitment to peace. Putin must now agree to a full and immediate ceasefire without conditions." Commitment to peace? Is that why you keep giving him billions every month, is it, Keith? Yet he has said nothing about Israel's bombing of Al-Ahli Baptist Hospital, preferring to gush over Rory McIlroy winning some golf thing instead. But even that wasn't the end of his hypocrisy here. Starmer managed to ignore Palm Sunday, and whilst many of us might not mark that day particularly, he still managed to acknowledge another religious event which made the omission all the more obvious. While Starmer tweeted greetings to Sikhs for Vaisakhi, I do hope I've said that right, he failed to mention Palm Sunday at all, which is a bit of a glaring omission given this is still a majority Christian nation after all. But then of course comes his ongoing and unquestioning support for Israel, even in the face of the war crimes they are committing, with Starmer repeatedly defending Israel's actions as self-defence, even when they violate international law. His silence on this hospital attack is therefore entirely consistent with Labour's refusal to hold Israel accountable. The hospital strike is just one part of Israel's broader annihilation of Gaza. Systematic hospital destruction, with some 30 or more hospitals destroyed, is leaving Gaza without ever more functional healthcare, a war crime as that is, and yet another now being added to that ever-growing list. On top of that, in recent days has been the shredding of Israel's claims in recent days that they do not deliberately target civilians, that the IDF are the most moral army, and yet the UN has identified 36 airstrikes between the 18th of March and the 9th of April where Israel has deliberately targeted only women and children. Add to that the recent annexation of Rafah, or what is left of Rafah, from the rest of the Gaza Strip, now meaning that Israel have forcibly displaced the Gazan people from 2/3 of their own land, 2/3 of the Gaza Strip in total now. Israel have once again carved up Gaza, building a new corridor isolating Rafah from the rest of the Strip, calling this one the Morag Corridor, named after the former Israeli settlement that once existed there, and what amounts to a blatant admission that annexation and full Israeli takeover and occupation is what they are doing. Squeezing the Gazan people into ever smaller areas, subjected to ongoing future bombardment if Israel sees fit to do so, genocide as all of this absolutely is. The disparity in coverage between Sumy and Gaza is not accidental. It is deliberate, it is ideological, and it is an absolute failure of global media to hold power to account, and a failure of politicians to do the right and decent thing. Western media and leaders amplify atrocities committed by adversaries, their adversaries, which is so easy for them, the likes of Russia. Yet when it comes to allies like Israel, they say nothing of their depravity, functionally assenting to it, being party to it, silence being complicity. Though of course here in the UK we're also arming them and conducting surveillance flights for them, so not even that silent in our complicity really. The fact of the matter is, you're normalising genocidal actions if you refuse to call them out, if you refuse to call them what they are, or ignore them. It's happening day after day, as we know it is in Gaza. This includes Palestinian Christians who are being persecuted by the very nation constantly wailing about its own victim status, going ignored by Western Christians who aren't worthy to call themselves such by doing so. And of course it undermines international law as well, when you don't call out a nation that thinks it can get away with bombing hospitals with impunity, yet can call it out when other nations like Russia commit a similar atrocity. War crimes are war crimes, whoever commits them. The world cannot claim to uphold justice, leaving to condemn Russia whilst ignoring Israel's crimes when Israel are doing practically the same thing. We need far better media accountability for biased reporting, especially right now when that means dehumanising Palestinians. And more political pressure must be heaped on pathetic leaders like Starmer to stop excusing genocide and call it what it damn well is. In fact, there needs to be an investigation into UK complicity, both politically and via the media. And a call for that has come from none other than Jeremy Corbyn himself, Keir Starmer's worst nightmare, a politician with standards and morals, and who was actually honest. And in light of all the atrocity Israel has committed, and in light of UK support for that, his demands for a Chilcot-style inquiry are not going to go away anytime soon. Check out all the details of that massive headache Corbyn is giving the Brillcream borefest that passes for the UK's Prime Minister in this video recommendation here is your suggested next watch. Please do also hit like, share and subscribe so as to ensure you don't miss out on all new content published daily, as well as supporting the channel at the same time, which is massively appreciated, holding power to account for ordinary working class people, and I'll hopefully catch you on the next video. Cheers folks.